The old folks in the village called it Ytterbyum, but everyone else just called it the shack. Built in 1823, the building had served as the local church until the congregation dwindled and the roof began to leak. By the time Birger's great-aunt Selma passed away, it had become a ruin, but she left him something wonderful in her will, an inheritance with one condition. He must live in the shack for 3 months before he could claim it. When the lawyer read that clause to him, Birger had laughed. It was the perfect opportunity to escape his life in Oslo, a life that had become too much to bear after the divorce. So here he was, unpacking boxes in near darkness under the watchful gaze of judgmental gargoyles. He found a cot and some blankets in the back room, along with a rickety desk and a chair. Through a chink in the wall, he saw a set of shelves packed with books. But when he stepped closer, he realized there were no titles, no authors, not even page numbers or chapter headings. The bindings were old and smelled faintly of cinnamon, and as he reached out to touch one, the leather cover shifted, revealing a hidden clasp. Each book contained hundreds of pages written in swirling script unlike any language Birger had ever seen. He took them home to study, pored over them, analyzed their structure, categorized their phonetic elements. Unable to decipher their meaning, he began to arrange them by size, then by color, finding strange comfort in the patterns they made on his shelves. It was during this time that he noticed small changes in the village. A shopkeeper who had always greeted him warmly now looked right through him as if he were a pane of glass. In the pub, a patron corrected a friend mid-sentence, as if he had suddenly forgotten what he was saying. Outside, clocks chimed the hour even though it was nearly silent, and at night, Birger could have sworn he heard voices coming from his bookshelves, lullabies sung in backwards tongues. As the days went by, the voices grew louder, more insistent. He tried to ignore them, to focus on his work, but the words were getting inside his head. When he woke up, he didn't recognize his surroundings. The walls were shifting. The floor beneath his feet no longer felt solid. The world as he knew it was falling apart. Panicked, he fled to the village, desperate to find someone who could help him, a doctor maybe, or a priest. But as he ran through the streets, he realized no one seemed to notice him. Their eyes were vacant, their mouths hanging open. He could hear the backwards lullabies now, coming from the villagers as well as the books. They were all singing the same song. He ran to the church, burst through the door, and stumbled onto a pew. There, in the flickering light of a candle, sat a woman in a dark hooded cloak. She didn't turn to face him, but her voice echoed in his mind like a half-remembered dream. "You shouldn't have come," she said. "You never should have come." Birger wanted to scream, to demand an explanation, but no sound came out of his mouth. He watched in horror as the villagers filed into the church, each one entranced by the woman in the shadows. She held up a hand, silencing the whispers around her. "These people have been mine for many years," she said, turning slowly to face him. Her eyes were filled with ancient sorrow. "They have forgotten who they are, but I am here to remind them. I am here to remind them all." The backwards lullabies swelled, drowning out the sound of her voice. Birger felt himself being pulled towards the shelves, towards the books that sang in the dark. He wanted to resist, to break free of the melody, but it was too late. He was already part of the song. The Archivist's nest had rewritten the village, rewritten its history, its people, its very soul, and now it was rewriting him. The last thing he remembered was the feeling of the leather covers as he turned the final page, the last page of the last book, the final chapter.